And then Kamala Harris's speech was basically something that could have been given by Joe Biden. Like a lot of us, you know, who were excited by the possibilities of a pivot on some of these issues, came face to face with the fact that Kamala Harris either can't or doesn't want to resist the advice of people that are dumber than dog shit. Either one is bad for its own reasons. It was terrible. And I think a lot of people are coping by saying things like it's boilerplate Dem. No, it's not. No, it's not. That was a Republican speech. That was a right-wing speech on issue after issue after issue. She gave us very little in the way of anything left-wing. And then there is the whole controversy of not allowing an uncommitted delegate to do a speech. Now, this isn't... I want to make a very important point to people that may not understand this distinction, but it's a very important distinction that the Harris team understands, which is the uncommitted delegates are not the protesters. Do you understand that? The uncommitted delegates are the most Democratic Party aligned people who dissent on Gaza policy. They are not the protesters, okay? They are Democrats. They are Democrats who want Kamala Harris to win, but are begging her to stop a genocide. They are already Democrat partisans. They are not people who hate the Democratic Party like me, okay? They are, and I hate the Democratic Party because it does exactly what we saw in that speech. I would have given it a 0 out of 10. I would call it a disastrous speech. Nearly, I mean, honestly, I think it was worse than Obama's speech, which was a terrible speech as well. What does it mean? Well, it definitely means that we can't trust Harris. It's just that simple. I'm no longer benefit of the doubt gone. You know, she had the opportunity to go up there and do something to continue the vibes. I saw a tweet, and maybe somebody could find it for me, of the anarcho brat flag on fire, and that was my feeling. That was my feeling. The brat summer was over. Vibe killed. Now, a lot of people are going to cope and pretend that that's not real, and I want to be honest. Like, you know, listen, like one speech isn't necessarily the entire future, but it should wake you the fuck up out of your little haze, your little fugue state of thinking the Democrats ever got a clue. They never do. Kamala is a classic Clintonian triangulator trying to reach the White House as Bill did without offending any of the constituencies she needs to win. Finally, you came to your senses about Harris. You sounded insane for most of the week with your high praise of Harris. No. I feel that every single thing I said was legitimate according to the actions and rhetoric that was being espoused. But the Kamala Harris speech was so fucking bad that it has to be reviewed in that context. Up until that, I mean, I think it was all symbolic up until the point where they refused to allow the uncommitted delegates to have a 5-minute speech. And then they kicked out Hassan when he had a bunch of interviews lined up with Democratic leadership or Democratic members. It showed a real tone deafness and a real reassertion of people like Anita Dunn. I really felt the Weinsteinian influence on the Democratic Party. The exact people that I've always hated in the Democratic Party reasserting themselves in that speech. It was really disgusting. And I don't get it. I don't get it. It feels like they're making a calculation that courting disaffected Republicans and centrists will be more effective than doing the same to progressives. They literally, the only reason they're winning is because they are a lot of progressives gave them the benefit of the doubt. What was I looking for? I was basically looking for, you know, her to do a Tim Walz part 2 and for her to draw a contrast between herself and Joe Biden on that issue and for her to call for an end to the war, like now. And not do the whole Israel has a right to defend itself, you know, shit from a terrorist group, blah, 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 blah. I mean, how many times have they said that already? Like, it's just a slap in the face. Now that Kamala has reverted to Brandon's baseline policies, do you expect polls and sentiment to reflect a much closer race to go? This shit sucks. You know, my feeling is you know, when you look at this David Sanger article and this headline, it tells you everything you need to say. I don't even need to analyze it for you. I think that any of my chatters could do my job on this article because of how transparently terrible what she did last night was. On Gaza, Democrats' most divisive issue, Harris embraces Biden's balancing act, which is another way of saying absolutely no change from Biden. With her party torn between pro-Israel Democrats and younger progressives, she's looking for a way to quiet one major issue until after the election. Not going to work. And this is how she loses, by the way. When Vice President Kamala Harris on Thursday finally addressed the most divisive issue of the Democratic Convention, the war in Gaza, she signaled she would pick up almost exactly where President Biden left off. Does anybody think that's a good idea? We're 10 months into this. Students are going to be returning to campuses. Is this a good idea?